Hey everyone, Nigel and Luke here, and welcome to another edition of Crimes of the Week International. Representatives from Australia's Queensland Police are warning hikers to be on the lookout this week as they search for an unknown man who allegedly attempted to sexually assault a woman on a popular walking trail. The incident began at around 10:15 a.m. on May 12th, when police received a call from the 25-year-old female victim. She had been exercising along the Cockatoo Trail in the Brisbane suburb of Mount Cootha, when suddenly she was attacked out of nowhere by a man. The man allegedly pushed her to the ground, held her down, and tried to force himself on her, but miraculously she was able to escape. She was treated by paramedics at the scene, though is said to have not been seriously injured. The report understandably generated a large police response, who began an extensive search of the area. Unfortunately, so far the attacker has not been found. The woman was able to provide a description of the suspect, which has now been released to the public. The man is said to be white, approximately 30 to 40 years old, and roughly 5 feet 11 inches tall. He has short dark hair, facial stubble, and was wearing a black t-shirt and shorts at the time of the crime. Police are now asking for members of the public who might have any information about this man to please come forward. At the time of this recording, the search continues. Representatives from the Hong Kong police force say that 5 men are in custody following a brazen daylight robbery last week, one that was quickly foiled by undercover officers who caught the suspects by surprise. The incident began just minutes before noon on May 7th, when the gang of would-be thieves pulled up to a jewelry store in Hong Kong's popular Tsim Shat Tsui shopping district. After getting out of a white car, the men, who were dressed in all black, stormed into the business. Dramatic video surveillance taken at the scene shows terrified employees standing by helplessly as the men rush inside carrying machetes and sledgehammers. Some of the men appear to threaten the workers, while the others immediately get to work smashing the store's display cases to get to the valuables inside. Unfortunately for the suspects, the whole thing was over as quickly as it started. Within 20 seconds of them entering the jewelry store, plainclothes officers had rushed in behind them. Upon seeing police with their guns drawn, the startled robbers dropped their weapons and got down on the ground so that they could be arrested. At the time of this recording, few other details have been released about the case, though it appears Hong Kong police were ready for the robbery after collecting information suggesting that a crime would be carried out in the area. The suspects have not been identified by name, however, it has been stated that they are between the ages of 23 and 36. Police say that only one of the men had a Hong Kong identity card. The remaining suspects either had paperwork allowing them to be in the city but barring them from working, or were there illegally. Officials in France say that they have launched an unprecedented manhunt for an escaped inmate this week, following a brazen and disturbing daylight ambush on a prison transport van, one that left 2 officers dead and 3 others seriously injured. The incident took place on the morning of May 14th, when the prison van in question was passing through a toll booth on the A154 motorway in the municipality of Incarville. According to reports, the van had just left a nearby courthouse and at the time was transporting an inmate named Mohamed Amra back to a jail facility in Val de Reuil. The 30-year-old, who is better known by his nickname Lamung, or The Fly, had been convicted of burglary a few days earlier and had also been indicted for a kidnapping that led to a death. As soon as Amra's prison van passed through the toll booth at around 11 a.m. that morning, a black SUV slammed into the front of it, forcing the van to a stop. Seconds later, a group of heavily armed and hooded gunmen got out of the SUV, as well as a white Audi that had been following the van from behind. Some of the men proceeded to open fire on the prison transport vehicle, while others helped Amra out. At least 30 rounds struck the van, hitting 5 of the officers who were inside. In the chaos, Amra and the attackers managed to escape. Before they left, they set fire to the SUV that had been used to ram the van, with some of the men getting into a third vehicle. Sadly, 2 of the 5 officers hit during the shooting were pronounced dead a short time later. They have since been identified as 52-year-old Fabrice Moel and 35-year-old Arnaud Garcia. The 3 other officers suffered serious injuries and were rushed to nearby hospitals. It has since been revealed that all of the victims are fathers, with the exception of Arnaud, whose wife is pregnant and still expecting their first child. Fabrice left behind a wife and 2 children. Following the horrifying ambush, French authorities launched a massive manhunt for Amra and the attackers. At the time of this recording, that search is in its 2nd day, and at least 450 law enforcement officers are taking part, an operation that has been called unprecedented. The attack has understandably caused widespread shock and outrage across the country, particularly within the law enforcement community. According to reports, this is the first fatal attack on prison staff in more than 30 years. French officials have also come out with strong words in the aftermath of the incident, with the country's justice minister saying in a statement, quote, "Everything, and I mean everything, will be put in place to find the perpetrators of this vile crime." He went on to say that the criminals involved were, quote, "people for whom life has no value," and that they would be found and punished, quote, "in a way that is proportionate to the crime." So far, the search is still ongoing, though authorities say that they have already recovered another burned-out vehicle allegedly used in the crime. They have also revealed that Amra tried to escape from jail a couple days before the ambush, stating that he had tried to saw the bars on his cell. Amra reportedly has a lengthy criminal history, dating back to when he was just 15 years old. The latest offense that he was indicted for, the previously mentioned fatal kidnapping, is allegedly connected to a drug trafficking group in the city of Marseille, which Amra is believed to be connected to. The situation is still developing. Authorities in the Indian state of Haryana say that a woman was arrested this week after she was accused of murdering her own young son, a crime which she allegedly committed because the boy learned that she was having an affair. According to reports, the case began on May 13th when police were called by staff members at a private hospital in the city of Gurugram. The employees told police that an 8-year-old boy had just died there under suspicious circumstances, and that the father believed his child might have been murdered. When police spoke with the man, identified in local sources as Arvind Kumar, he explained that he had been at work that afternoon when he was told by a neighbor that something was wrong with his son at his house in Surhal village. He rushed back there to find a large crowd gathered outside. He went in to find his 8-year-old son unresponsive, and his wife, Poonam Devi, crying. She told him that their son suddenly got sick and had fallen unconscious. Sadly, he was already dead. Though it appears Arvind initially believed what his wife told him, that changed when he spotted red marks on his son's neck. This led him to believe that the boy had been strangled. Upon further investigation, police uncovered more information that caused them to question Poonam. Apparently, the 28-year-old mother had been having an affair, one that her young son had recently found out about. Authorities now allege that she killed the boy in an attempt to stop his father from finding out. At the time of this recording, no charges have yet been filed. However, Poonam remains in custody and has reportedly confessed to the murder. Authorities in the Uruguayan capital of Montevideo say that a terrifying hostage situation was successfully de-escalated this week after a man held a woman at knife point during the middle of an alleged psychotic break. According to reports, the situation took place sometime this week at the Tres Cruces shopping center, a popular mall located right in the heart of the capital. The shopping center, which also serves as a major transit hub, was bustling with people when suddenly a man walked in carrying a knife. He headed right for an unsuspecting 18-year-old woman who had just come out of a store close to the entrance, who he proceeded to grab while holding the knife to her body. Police responded to the situation quickly and began talking to the man, who was clearly experiencing some kind of mental health episode. The man reportedly ranted about wanting to end his life and also claimed that he, quote, wanted to speak to God. At the same time, a crowd of people gathered, some of whom began filming the tense situation. Luckily, officers were able to keep the situation calm, and according to local news sources, the whole thing came to an end in about 10 minutes. When it did, the male suspect was arrested, and the 18-year-old woman was not physically injured. So far, the man has only been identified as being 38 years old. Reports also say that he is not an Uruguayan citizen, though they don't actually say where he is originally from. At the time of this recording, the man remains in custody at a psychiatric facility. A 54-year-old British woman has been sentenced this week, just over a year after she allegedly attacked her husband with a knife, a crime that took place after he fell asleep during the middle of a conversation and she flew into a rage. According to reports, the incident took place one night back in April of last year, after husband and wife Barry and Deborah Stollard returned to their home in the village of Dymchurch following a night out at a local pub. The couple of 21 years were sitting and relaxing together when Deborah started talking about some issues that she was experiencing in her personal life. She had only gotten part of the way into her story, though, when she looked over and discovered that Barry had fallen asleep. Though it's easy to see how Deborah might have felt slighted by this, she apparently skipped annoyed and went straight to unhinged. After throwing several items at her husband, she reportedly grabbed a knife and stabbed him in the chest. Barry ended up requiring emergency medical treatment, though thankfully there was no damage to his lungs or other organs and he made a full recovery. Deborah, meanwhile, was arrested and charged with wounding with intent and criminal damage. She was also prohibited from living with Barry afterwards to ensure his safety. This week, the 54-year-old pleaded guilty to the lesser charge of unlawful wounding, though claimed that the situation wasn't entirely her fault. Her reason? She was going through menopause at the time of the stabbing. In a statement to the court, her lawyer said in part, quote, "It was, in my submission, the menopause and the hormonal effect that created that was the main cause of this event." In fairness to Deborah, it appears that Barry agrees with this explanation. In his own statement to the court this week, he asked the judge to spare his wife jail time, saying, quote, "The incident was a one-off. It was created by the two of us drinking alcohol and my wife suffering with the menopause." He also went on to state that the court-ordered bail restrictions imposed on Deborah that required them to live apart had actually made their lives more difficult, saying, quote, "There is no reason for this to continue. I request that my wife is not given a prison sentence and that we can live together as a happily married couple again." While the judge appeared sympathetic to Barry's statement, Deborah also had a previous conviction for assault occasioning actual bodily harm. Partly for this reason, she was given a 9-month jail sentence, though it was suspended for 2 years. In addition, Deborah was given 12 months of probation, ordered to complete 100 hours of community service, and must take part in 20 rehabilitation activity requirement sessions. Authorities in Thailand say that they are searching for the last remaining suspect in a disturbing murder case this week, after the body of a missing South Korean tourist was found under gruesome circumstances in a reservoir. The investigation began sometime on May 3rd, when police were contacted by the wife of 34-year-old Ro Wei-jung. The woman said that her husband, who is a South Korean national, had been abducted by a group of unknown men. The wife told officers that she and Ro had arrived in the country on April 30th and were there for a vacation because she is originally from Thailand. On the night of May 2nd, they had spent the evening in Bangkok's popular RCA clubbing district. However, when they went to leave one of the venues there around 2 a.m., they were ambushed by a group of 3 men who proceeded to kidnap Ro. The case took another chilling turn around the same time when Ro's mother contacted the South Korean embassy in Bangkok. She said that she had received a phone call from her son's number. When she answered, an unknown man told her that she had to pay a ransom of 3 million baht, or about $82,000 US. The man said that the money was to repay him for drugs that Ro had dumped into a river. If they didn't get the money by May 8th, Ro would be killed. When this information was passed along to Thai authorities, the search effort for the 34-year-old was stepped up significantly. Police were quickly able to identify a white pickup truck that was allegedly used by the suspects, and analysis of CCTV footage led them to a rental house in Lamung district, located on the outskirts of the city of Pattaya. More footage showed the 3 suspects purchasing a large plastic barrel from a warehouse nearby, as well as nylon rope and scissors. The trail of evidence ultimately led to a final tragic discovery a few days later. On the night of May 11th, police divers recovered the same plastic barrel that they had seen the suspects purchasing from the bottom of the nearby Maprachon reservoir. Inside were human remains, which had been encased in concrete. While an official identification has yet to take place at the time of this recording, authorities say that they are reasonably confident that this is Ro's body. An official cause of death likewise has not been made, though disturbingly, police revealed that all of his fingers had been removed in what was obviously an attempt to make identifying him more difficult. Following the discovery of the remains, police also announced that they had identified the 3 suspects. The 3 are also said to be South Korean nationals, and apparently split up and fled Thailand after the murder. So far, 2 of them have been arrested. The first, identified only as a man in his 20s, was arrested back in South Korea on May 12th. The second, a 27-year-old man, was arrested 2 days later in the Cambodian capital of Phnom Penh. At the time of this recording, the third suspect is still on the run, though investigators say that it's believed he fled to Myanmar. The situation is still developing. Authorities in both Spain and the United States released a disturbing update in an ongoing missing persons case this week, announcing that they had made an arrest nearly 3 months to the day after the disappearance of a 40-year-old Colombian-American woman. If you're a regular viewer of our Crimes of the Week International series, you might remember that we covered this story back when it was first reported. It began on February 5th, 2024, when friends of 40-year-old Anna Knežević sound the alarm after she failed to meet up with them in the Spanish city of Barcelona. At the time, Anna, who lives in Florida, was on an extended trip to Spain. She had been renting an apartment in Madrid's upscale Salamanca neighborhood since late December. However, when authorities began investigating, it quickly became clear that no one had heard from her for several days. Not only that, but the last messages friends and family had received had been unusual. On February 3rd, several people received text messages from Anna's cell number on WhatsApp. Some of these communications were written in English, which was strange enough, though even the ones in her native Spanish sounded strange. Anna's brother would later say that the messages didn't read like his sister at all. The word choice and grammar were bizarre, though that was nothing compared to the content of the messages. In them, Anna appeared to claim that she had run off with a man she had just met, stating, quote, "I met someone wonderful. He has a summer house about 2 hours from Madrid. We are going there now and I will spend a few days there. Signal is spotty. I'll call you when I get back. Yesterday after therapy I needed a walk and he approached me on the street. Amazing connection, like I never had before." Things only got more concerning when police traveled to the apartment where Anna had been staying. She was nowhere to be found. However, several of her personal items were missing, notably her laptop, cell phone, and chargers. The most unsettling discovery by far, though, came when police got a hold of the surveillance footage from Anna's apartment. In it, an unknown man could be seen entering the building the night before her friends and family received those strange messages over WhatsApp. The man was wearing a motorcycle helmet on his head and proceeded to spray one of these surveillance cameras with spray paint, partially obscuring it. This happened at around 9:30 p.m. as the man made his way inside. He stayed there before being captured again, leaving the elevator about an hour later. This time, he was carrying a large suitcase. At the time of our last report, little else had been revealed about the case. The only exception was that Anna was going through a contentious divorce with her husband at the time, 36-year-old David Knežević. However, most sources stated that David was visiting family in Serbia at the time of Anna's disappearance. Well, that all changed this week when authorities announced that David had been arrested at Miami International Airport back in the United States. The 36-year-old is now accused of kidnapping his estranged wife. Specifically, Spanish officials say that they have collected a number of pieces of evidence over the last 3 months, several of which were shared with the public this week. For starters, while David did fly to Serbia at the end of January of this year, he rented a vehicle on January 29th after arriving there. It's alleged that he used this car to make the approximately 26-hour drive to Anna's apartment in Spain. This same car was captured by toll booth cameras near Madrid between February 2nd and 3rd, and was reportedly equipped with license plates stolen from another vehicle on the same street where Anna was living. Not only that, when the rental vehicle was returned, the owner of the company said that its windows had been tinted, a new license plate frame had been put on it, and the car had traveled nearly 4,800 miles. Next, police say that they recovered footage taken from a retail store in Madrid, which showed a man matching David's description buying spray paint and other items the same day Anna was last seen. They further claim that the man seen entering Anna's building on the night of February 2nd resembles David as well. The most damning evidence against the 36-year-old, though, was again related to those strange WhatsApp messages. According to police, the evidence came from a woman who had been in a relationship with David, who claimed that she had unwittingly helped to write these messages. The woman told authorities that she had met David through a dating app in October of 2023. A few months later, he asked her if she could help him with something which he claimed was a favor for a friend. David explained that his friend in Serbia was writing a script for a play and that there was a Colombian character in it. He wanted her to help him translate several sentences which he said needed to be in, quote, perfect Colombian. At the time, the woman apparently didn't think anything of this request, so she helped David. It was only a little while later, when her mother asked her about her relationship and looked up David's name, that they discovered his wife was missing. When the woman saw the WhatsApp messages and news reports, she recognized these as the exact same sentences she had helped David translate. As for the alleged motive behind all of this, it appears that police believe it was about money. They say that Anna and David jointly owned a technology company that offers computer support to businesses in South Florida, and that David did not want to split assets evenly in the divorce. At the time of this recording, David remains in custody on kidnapping charges. The whereabouts of Anna Knežević are still currently unknown, and the investigation is ongoing. Before we wrap up, we'd like to take a second to give a huge shout out to everyone who has made it this far into the video. Seriously, thank you so much for watching. If you found today's upload interesting and informative, we'd be honored if you'd consider liking and subscribing, as well as hitting the notification bell and selecting all notifications to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you're looking for additional ways to help support the channel, we'd love to have you join us over on Patreon. Patrons get ad-free and early access to all of our content, as well as 4 additional stories per week for each of our Crimes of the Week and Crimes of the Week International videos. You can learn more at patreon.com/crimezone, where you'll also find some of the fine folks whose names are currently on screen. All that being said, we understand that not everyone has the means to support financially, and that's totally okay. We appreciate every like, sub, share, and comment that you send our way. Once again, thanks so much everyone, and take care.